Welcome to Albion TV presents the AO Daily Show, your source of real news in an unreal world, keeping you up to date on the latest news, events, and the great community of Albion Online. Today is Thursday, the 2nd of December, 2021. I am your host, the Shozen One, and today my co-host Bogul and I are joined by a very special guest. We have content creator from YouTube, BigLipsMcGee, here to help you guys get into some PvP. Now, we've got another new player show lined up today where we're going to be taking questions and going over some new player friendly topics. But before we get into that, Big Lips McGee, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit to the audience and tell them what you do and why you're here today?
Wow, yeah, thanks. My name is Big Lips McGee, as you just said. I make YouTube content for Albion. I mostly focus on sort of solo PvP in the open world and more educational content, informational stuff. I have a bunch of series about like loot from 10 hours of doing this or exploration hours where I do random activities for an hour to see how good they are. So, yeah, I'm excited to be here. We're going to be looking at some how to get started with PvP as, PvP games. So, yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, it is a full loop PvP game, and a lot of players who get involved in Albion right off the bat don't really know how to get started in it. They don't know what's the best way for them as a player trying to learn the game, how to get involved in PvP without risking too much and not just setting themselves back. How can they get involved in PvP that will scale with them as they get better at the game? I guess that's how I would say. How do we approach this? How do you get better at PvP and find that content that's good for you at your current skill level?
Yeah, it's definitely pretty daunting getting into Albion PvP at the start, especially with the threat of the full loot. You're trying to pay your premium, keep your gear, your first set of gear that you got, and going to PvP losing it all is kind of risky. So luckily, SBI has implemented a bunch of systems recently to sort of let you get into PvP without the risk of losing all of your gear. So we got some like Hunter Corrupted Dungeons, arenas are classic. They added in the faction warfare and the last or second last huge content update, which is really nice for sort of new players to get in there and get their PvP experience in without having to worry about losing a whole lot of stuff. And actually, you can make some pretty good money with doing it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Both the faction warfare that was added and the corrupted dungeons are great ways of structured PvP that you can get into without having to do a lot of setup.
Yeah, it's really good. You can just go grab your favorite set of gear and just go out and get some PvP under your belt. So yeah, that is definitely how to get started with PvP.
Now, if I'm just starting, say I've been playing for about a week or so, and I've got a couple of sets of gear, how should I start getting into PvP? What would you suggest is one of the first ways I should get involved? What's going to be some of the lower investment PvP options that I have that will allow me to learn and grow?
Yeah, so the first thing I would do is make sure that you unlocked, like I would say, tier 4 gear. So once you have your gear up to tier 4, that's when I think you can get started with PvP. If you go try to go a little bit earlier, like with your tier 3 and stuff, it might be a little bit hard. You might not be able to reach they sort of have an IP cap for some activities, so you're not allowed to enter if you don't reach a certain level IP, which you'll only hit once you hit tier 4 gear. And those that don't, it'll just be a lot harder if you don't have the tier 4 gear unlocked because there's a big jump in power from tier 3 to tier 4. So once you get your favorite set to tier 4 gear, then you can go and you can start doing some of these activities. So there's essentially, I like to split PvP into sort of three main categories. So you have like your solo PvP where you go by yourself and do some PvP. You have group PvP, which is really anything more than solo, up to I'd say around like 10 players. Usually it's 5v5 or 10v10 is pretty standard size. And then you have the large group or like Zerg PvP. If you ever heard the term ZVZ, that means Zerg versus Zerg. These are like entire guilds clashing against each other, just all out wars between practically the entire server. So we can get you can essentially get started with all of those in a safe way. So I was thinking here we could start with some solo PvP, as corrupted dungeons are a great way to get sort of introduced into solo PvP without having to risk your gear.
Mm. All right, sounds good. And how do you find one of these corrupted dungeons?
Yeah, so why don't we? So if you go to any town here, we're gonna go out to the town here and we're gonna find a corrupted dungeon. So if you go to the open world, any yellow or blue zone, which you can tell if you open your map, will have the little blue or yellow thing on top of them. It's a safe zone, and we're just going to go run into one of those zones and find a corrupted dungeon on that is spawned in one of those. I'll show you what they look like. If you've ever been into a solo dungeon, they look very similar to that, except they're all demonic-y and scary looking.
Okay, I like scary looking. It's fun. Yep.
Yeah. So just go into any blue zones. We're in the blue zone here outside of Bridgewatch. And I'll see if I can find us a corrupted dungeon.
Now
So
there
pretty
are
much they
different
spawn-
levels of corrupted dungeons, right? Because like you're going into the blue and yellow zones here, trying to find some non-lethal corrupted dungeons. But that's not the only kind of corrupted dungeon there is, right? These things grow.
Yeah, so if you go into the red or the black zone, which are the dangerous areas, and you enter a corrupted dungeon, you'll either be able to enter the stalker corrupted dungeons or the slayer corrupted dungeons, which are full loot. The ones we're going to hear are the hunter ones, which are not full loot, which you can access in the blue and yellow zones. So if you want to make sure you're staying safe, make sure you go in the blue or the yellow zone, and then it won't even let you enter one of the ones that is full loot. So you can see here we found a corrupted dungeon. Oh, this guy's going to take it. That's fine. We'll find another one. You can see it looks like a solo dungeon. You ever seen a solo dungeon there? Except it has these like red demonic inscribings on the outside there. It disappears when someone goes inside it. So you just click on it and you'll get channeled into the corrupted dungeon. And I'll have to find another one, but that's okay.
And that's a very fancy mount you've got here.
Oh yes, the best
Your
mount in the
battle
game.
donkey.
Battle Donkey. I think it's the monthly reward for some mount or some month. What is it? Is it like October or something? I don't know. It's great. It has this little ability that can shoot yourself backwards.
The heretic donkey, yeah.
Yes, Heretic Donkey, my favorite. So once you channel in, you're going to get into this very scary looking place.
Just going to take a second for us to load here.
Yep.
Oh, Bogul. It looks like PoE is
End
out.
up in the swamp.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. So once you got in this corrupted dungeon, the first thing you have is this little shrine here at the start, and essentially, you can click to channel the shrine if you want to. If you do it, that means that you're guaranteed to get a PvP fight, and if you don't do it, then you might get a PvP fight and you might not. So I'm gonna channel it here so we can get a PvP fight, and essentially, this will make it so that I have a chance to go to someone else's corrupted dungeon, someone else's who's doing a corrupted dungeon, and invade them and have to fight them. So once you activate that, you won't go right away. Essentially, in corrupted dungeons, you have 100 points that you have to get before you complete the dungeon, and you can get them essentially just by killing all the mobs around you. So if I go over here, there's this big fiery dude, and if I kill him, I'll get some points, and then I'll be on the way to completing the corrupted dungeon sort of thing.
And so how does this corrupted dungeon work here? What are you trying to do? Are you trying to raise something? Like I understand there's infamy. How does infamy work for the new players who are new to corrupted dungeons?
Yeah, so every mob that you kill gives you a tiny little bit of infamy, which will boost your loot from that you get from corrupted dungeons. And if you kill players, then you'll get even more infamy. So the main way you get infamy is by winning corrupted dungeons, by killing players. Although, yeah, you can also get it just from killing mobs and clearing corrupted dungeons like this. So I think the main thing they do is they give you better loot from the chests. They might actually give you better fame as well, but I'm not sure on that point. Let's see here.
And the enemies you fight are also sort of distributed based on your infamy, right? So if you have a high amount of infamy, then you're more likely to queue against high-ranked infamy players too.
Yeah, it sort of works as an MMR system. So yeah, you can go, oh, there's also in corrupted dungeons, these little mobs. You see this like bat that's floating over me here? This is not like an enemy mob that I would kill. This is sort of like a trap mob. So if I hit this mob here, it will do some sort of effect. This one goes out in this little fire ring, and if you stand in it, you do a bunch of.
You don't want to stand in the fire ring. It's terrible. It's and there's some that silence you and stuff like that. They have a bunch of different traps on these mobs. It's a bit of a mix of PvE and PvP, and it gives pretty good fame for the amount of time that you get involved here. Good rewards, and the rewards do scale up as you increase your infamy, like you were talking about before. And a great way to raise that infamy are those early PvP encounters in a non-lethal setting. And you can do your PvE, learn in 1v1 situations how other people use their skills, and quickly raise your infamy so that you can start getting better rewards when you clear these dungeons. And it's not so bad, even in the non-lethals. Though I think right now for fame that maybe the open world in Black Zones is a little bit better, but Corrupted Dungeons have been notorious for having some really good fame and rewards.
Yeah, once you get to like the sort of the late game in Albion for a solo player, Corrupted Dungeons are some of the best content you can do in terms of progressing your account and getting money and all that sort of stuff. So learning them in these Hunter Corrupted Dungeons before you go into that late game high tier gear, high risk sort of environment is really helpful. I should probably try to find a boss. Oh, nice, it's a boss right up here. I can show you a loot chest.
Is there anything to say about your gear that you're wearing? Is there anything that is relevant for your setup here? Or is that, because I see it's tier 4, it's fairly cheap. So your whole set is probably what?
Estimated at,
chest, but...
okay, well, it's estimated at 380k, but without the cape and the gauntlets, if you use a cheaper weapon, it's going to be like 50k probably.
The cape is the expensive piece there, right? Wasn't that the most expensive piece that you have?
Yeah, besides the donkey, I guess, counted that. But you can use any mount you want. So yeah, really, you can do this with like a gear set that costs like 20k with just this armor and a nice cheap weapon. And essentially, you just want it to be really whatever you enjoy playing. There's some stuff that's just sort of better suited for solo. So if you do something that has like a lot of AoE damage, it's probably not going to be as good for solo play. Whereas like these guys, the E ability is sort of just like this little slam, which is a little bit of AoE, but it's mostly better for sort of solo stuff because it's easy to hit on one player.
And this is the new battle gloves here. These are the war gloves, right? What do you have here? These are the brawlers, right?
The brawler gloves,
The brawler gloves, and they aren't actually that expensive. Only about 20k for a tier 5, so that's within the budget for most people. And it's when you get over that 50k for individual items on your, person that it gets a little expensive when it adds up. That cape's a little expensive. I can see that scaring a couple of people away.
Yeah, you don't. Nice thing about these, you don't need to run any special capes. You can just run a normal cape if you want. I just have this because it looks cool, to be honest. And yeah, so you can see here after we've cleared some of the dungeon, enough time has passed that we've been invaded into another person's dungeon, or we've gone into another person's dungeon.
Yeah, you've invaded it yourself. I believe you're the one who's the invader at this point.
Yeah. So now I have to go and find them in this dungeon and kill them so that I can get sent back to my dungeon so I can finish clearing it and get rewards. I just got to watch out for this mob because he'll hook me if I'm not careful.
Yeah, if you try to go by. So. And there's a couple of hints that you can use. By using the map, you can kind of get an idea of where your opponent may be because the mobs on this map show up as little red dots. And if you look on the map, you can see there's an area where the dots are missing.
Yeah, and that's a good indication of where you can sort of track their path if you know where they start. You can see on the map this little area here that I'm in right now is always where people start. So if you go to this area and then track where the mobs are missing, you can pretty consistently find them pretty easily and get those fights in. Now, there's also things that spawn in these dungeons called crystals that you can break. So my opponent here might go to break crystals instead of trying to fight me, which will get him out of the dungeon and not have to fight me. Instead, he's just going to sit here and be an AFK target dummy. So I guess we can show what happens when you kill an opponent.
This is how easy PvP in Corrupted Dungeons can be when your opponent goes AFK.
Yes, a great introduction to PvP. Nice and easy kill. So I was able to get some loot there, kill him, got some infamy off of that, so my rewards will be better now. Yeah. And then once I've killed them, I just have to wait a little bit and it'll send me back to my dungeon. I could even steal his chest if I was fast enough, but I don't think I can.
And if anybody has any questions in chat, go ahead and ask your questions and we'll try to keep an eye on chat and discuss any individual questions that anybody does have while we continue to pull raffles as well. We're probably going to hang out in Corrupteds for a little bit longer before we head over to the next kind of PvP that you can get into. I think we're going to look at maybe arenas, I think was on the list.
Yeah. So now that I'm back in my dungeon, I have no risk of being invaded anymore or invading anyone else. I just have to finish clearing mobs until the boss spawns and then clear the dungeon. If you want to get like sort of started with Corrupted Dungeons, a lot of time it can be a little bit hard at the start, but what I always like to say is just like be patient and try to learn from your mistakes, right? Like a lot of people get sort of overwhelmed and die a lot at the start, but that's okay. You're always going to die a lot at the start when you're learning PvP, especially in Albion. So just, I always like to say, just take a chill pill for a second. Try to think of what you could have done a little bit better. Usually it's just like, oh, you forgot to use your potion or something, or maybe you didn't use your Q on them. Maybe you missed it, and then next time you can go in and just focus on remembering to use your potion or something like that. It makes it a lot easier, taking it one step at a time.
And about how long do you generally find that it takes to start to really upgrade yourself in these corrupted dungeons before you start to see the benefit of your, what is it, the infamy increase? What do you say it generally takes?
It's honestly pretty hard to like feel the effects of the infamy, because a lot of players seem to sort of complain about the loot in dungeons and corrupted dungeons like this, but honestly, it is quantity over quality. You're not going to notice that many like big ticket items. They'll happen more if you have high infamy, but it's mostly the quantity of items. So you get more items from every chest, or on average, you'll get more items, which really starts to add up as you do more and more dungeons, and that's really what how you start getting a lot of money from these corrupted dungeons.
Question that's kind of aside from this and more, I guess, in line with you as a content creator. What can fans of content creators do to support content creators here in Albion? What can they do to help you?
I mean, the best thing is just engaging with content creators' content, liking, videos on YouTube, sharing them with your friends. If you see something you think is really interesting, or that you want to try out, chances are people in your guild, your friends, are also going to want to try that stuff out. So send them the video, send them the link to the stream, and get them to, engage with it also and see if they like it. And then obviously, a lot of content creators have like sort of monetary things like subscribing to streamers and stuff. If you want to go that route, is always appreciated by streamers. I personally don't have any sort of that stuff set up, but I know a lot of like streamers especially do.
Mm-hmm. I think that the sharing of the content with your friends goes a long way. You can always hit the follow and the like button, and that's great. But when you take a video that you like and you share it with your friends, that goes even farther, because that doesn't just say that you like it to random people. That is like when you say, hey, this is a show that I like, and your friend goes, you like that show, maybe I will too. If you got something out of that, maybe I will too. And you can really help bring them in another fan for the content life. It's really, that's probably the best thing that you can do, is sharing it with your friends and saying that you like it to the people who respect your opinion.
Yeah, for sure. If you like you're watching this show right now, hey, if you like it, share the Albion. Albion TV does tons of great content for Albion players, especially new Albion players. So definitely, if you're enjoying the stream, share this Albion TV with some of your friends.
Well, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Before you click the button, I see that you have a portal here and that you just finished off the boss. Is that correct?
Yes. So after you finish your corrupted dungeon, after you kill that boss, open that chest, this portal spawns here. And essentially you have two options when you click the portal. One is that you can go to the surface and essentially go out of your corrupted dungeon, bank your loot, do whatever you want next. And then you can also, instead of going to the surface and having to find another corrupted dungeon, you can also just click next dungeon and go straight into your next dungeon without having to return to the surface and find another dungeon.
That's really good for saving time right there. You can get a lot of chain content in together. We also have another question that's more along the lines of what's going on now. McGee, what happened to all the Alone in BZ?
I get asked that so much. So I had a series that I started, maybe like a year ago, called All Alone in the Black Zone, where I went on a fresh account and essentially just went to the Black Zone as soon as possible and could only progress my account through the Black Zone, which is very dangerous and difficult. And it was a great series and I really enjoyed it, but it was very, very hard to make. So I did 3 episodes of that. I have started working on episode 4. It's like 100+ hours into making it, but I need a lot of free time to be able to focus on that series. So it's kind of on a standstill right now. Hopefully it will increase in the future or come back in the future, but
it will help bring that back. Going to your page and commenting on your videos and saying, I want this content back. Because we both know that comments and videos drive the metrics over there on YouTube. So comment away on his videos. Don't just like, don't just follow. Make sure that you talk in those comments, because that really drives the algorithms for YouTube. Another question is how much did you get as rewards in the last 20 minutes from doing those corrupted dungeons? Did you get some good rewards by winning that PvP event and opening a few chests from taking the bosses? I mean, you were only in there for 20 minutes.
Yeah, so besides all the silver that I left lying on the ground and the fame that I got from killing the mobs, I did get 2 tomes for fame, so 2,000 combat fame from some tomes that I can pop on whatever gear I want, as well as around like 15k worth of loot that I could sell on the market if I wanted to. And some silver bags, so around like 20k silver total from that, so that's pretty good. I mean, that's like a full set of tier 4 gear just from doing 20 minutes of corrupted dungeons.
Yeah, and the tomes are 25k each, so that's not a bad
they were the
haul. Yeah,
beginner tomes, the ones.
Beginner. Okay.
Yeah, but yes, you can get those bigger tomes as well. That solve very nicely. Awesome. Yeah, that's sort of how you can get into solo PvP if you want to. You can also go for if you want to have some friends maybe, or get into more group content. Maybe solo PvP is not for you. I would highly suggest going into arenas. Arenas are super fun, honestly. I know like some super experienced players who still do arenas all the time.
It's my favorite content. I'll be honest. I have an arena group, and every day I log in for a half dozen or so arenas, and we have an absolute blast. I love arenas. We have a question about this kind of content, actually. BezGod420 wants to know, actual PvP question. How do you build for group fights?
Okay, so yeah, group fights, you essentially have like 4 main roles for group fights. You have your ranged damage, you have your melee damage, you have your tanks, and you have your healers. So depending on which role you sort of want to fill, you can build in different ways. So usually for your ranged damage, you're going to want to go some sort of cloth robe, like a mage robe, and focus on a lot of damage in your build. With you couldn't go a defensive helm, but pretty much a damage weapon with a cloth robe, and then you do a lot of damage. On melee, you want to go generally a leather chest piece, which gives you a little bit more tankiness, something like a stalker jacket, and a melee weapon, because you're going to be in their backline trying to get on top of their healer. For tanks, you want to wear plate armor, obviously, get nice and tanky up there with a weapon that has a lot of like CC on it, like maces and hammers are really good for tank weapons. Along with some helmets that have CC or defensive helmets are pretty good on there. And then healers typically run cleric robes are very, very popular for healers, because you want to have some sort of defensiveness, as there's going to be a lot of people jumping on you, but you also want your heals to do a lot of healing. So you want a cloth robe with the defensive, and then a heal stick, and then just a ton of defensive stuff. However much defensive stuff you get on top of that is the best. So cleric cowls are very common. Sort of assassin shoes have that invulnerability frame. So a lot of defensive stuff with a cloth robe for healers.
And as well as you also have to manage your energy on healers as well. That's a very common thing. You'll see it on the cape or energy pots. But yeah, across the board there, that's pretty consistent. What you're seeing is people defensives on helms, and then support on chest, and then escapes on shoes across the board. You see the tanks definitely have a lot more group support skills in their support spots, such as helms and chests. And then with the melee and ranged, it's mostly about themselves. You see, the melee is often, how do I do more damage to the other team with my support skills, such as chest and helm? Whereas the ranged, because they are ranged and wearing cloth, generally they have higher damage output. So they need more defensive skills on their secondary skills, such as helm and chest plate.
Yeah, for sure. And then follow-up question, are defensive boots like guardian boots useful in group fights, or do you just go distance or speed or utility? Guardian boots can be helpful, especially on the backliners that don't need as much mobility. But typically in the current sort of like meta, if you really want to get into the meta, it's mostly like boots that have some invulnerability and help you move a little bit more. So assassin shoes or royal boots.
Royal boots are really popular right now with the monkey roll. Yeah.
Those two have a little bit of defensive on them, and then
my bad.
So defensive in the invulnerability frame, and then they also have a little bit of movement on them, which really helps them sort of get in and out, and then dodge like important skills and stuff like that.
Yeah, the ability to get any of those, the dodge, the leap, the blink, all those delayed teleport, anything that gets you away with an iframe is really, really helpful. We're seeing it kind of goes from one to the next in rotation, depending on which one is most powerful in whatever meta we're currently in. But you're seeing a lot of the royal right now.
Yeah, you can see I have a healer build on right now with those assassin shoes, so I can sort of dodge roll away from stuff. So yeah, going into how to get into the group content. If you go up to the top right of your screen, there's this amazing tab called the Activities tab, and if you go in there, you can queue up for something called Arena. You can solo queue, or you can go up as a group, and it'll essentially put you in this queue, and then after a while, the queue will pop, and you'll get into an arena match. So that's what we're going to be doing here. I'm going to queue as a healer because there is not that many healers, and so you get faster queues if you're a healer. And yeah, get into some nice 5v5 PvP action.
I just got a really nice image from Tim for real. Thank you. This is a bit of a build breakdown that you guys can use. It's a little old, but it's still relevant, and I think you guys can use it. It's pretty good. I would say specifically for Arena, though, you're talking about using iframes on your healer and stuff. I do find in Arena specifically, because so much of the gameplay revolves around getting from point to point, that something more along the lines of focused run is a little bit more like the scholar shoes. I'm tending to use those more often right now because of the ability to get from point to point and how important it is in arenas to be able to avoid CC.
Yes. Scholar sandals, yeah, with the focused run ability are a very good one as well, because they sort of have a defensive there, making you immune to stuns, as well as have a little bit more mobility than the things like the assassin shoes. So those can be a very good option as well. They also give you mana. They're just a really strong shoe, to be honest.
Oh, they're great. Yeah, they're great across the board, and you can use them in a situation. I wouldn't use them in a lot of situations, but arenas particularly, it works very well. Is what I would say.
Yeah.
And we have another link from Tim here with the DPS builds as well. Thank you very much, Tim, for real. We appreciate that. One of the great things about these new player shows is the number of veterans that hang out in chat and are constantly giving tips and answering questions and even asking pertinent questions to our hosts. So thank you guys for showing up. And because of that, I'm going to pull 2 raffles right now. Thank you guys very much.
Free stuff. Who doesn't love free stuff?
I see you're queuing in right now for the arena. I think you're trying to get in, right?
Yeah. Oh, just got in.
Just got in. Nice.
Yeah. So there's a queue. 10 people have to accept. Sometimes only 9 people do. It's very common, but.
And one thing we should say is that you only get rewards for arena when you win, and you can only gain those awards 3 times a day. It is a limited instanced content, and that you can't keep doing it over and over for rewards. But honestly, I find it so fun that when I don't have other content to do, I'll just queue up for this again and just work on my skills.
Yeah, when I'm into doing arenas, I definitely will go past that 3-win limit.
Yeah, when I solo queue for arenas, I actually bring 2 builds. I bring my DPS build, which is what I enjoy playing, and I always bring a healing build just in case the guy who queued up as healer decided to go thorns.
Yeah, sometimes that is an issue. Healers are very, very necessary in group combat. You'll see actually that oftentimes in group PvP, it's all centered around the healers. People trying to kill healers or save their healers. I am a very bad healer. I rarely heal, so don't watch this for a guide on how to heal. But we do our best.
Oh. Yeah, healing is very difficult, but this is a great way when you know you're not good at a certain aspect of PvP. Doing it in arenas is a great place to learn because there's very little on the line other than the time that you spent participating. You might get a salty teammate every now and then who's a try-hard, sweaty dude, but that's going to happen no matter what kind of content you're doing. And if you want to get to crystals, which are the 5v5 content, which is what I would say is like it's arenas on steroids. It's what you do when you are picking every single individual skill for your team to be in a synergy across the board so that you can compete at peak min-max performance, where you watch every VOD, you look at every mouse click, and you concern yourself with every single individual IP point.
Yes, Albion PvP can get very intense and very skillful, very min-maxy. Gotta make sure you have all the exact right abilities, skills. IP, yeah, everything. You'll see people overcharging in like their 8-3 and the very high level arenas just to get that little bit extra.
Mm-hmm. We see it happen in the Crystal League Championship, which is our seasonal ending tournament for the Crystal League. The top 8 teams in the game will compete to find out who the best is, and we offer some incredible prizes for the winners of that 5v5 tournament. The arena is often the very first step on your journey towards the Crystal League Championship.
I have 2 things from chat that I want to pick up, or a third thing actually as well. Like when we were watching you, it looks like you're dying and it looks like you're naked afterwards, but you're not actually losing your gear, right? This is non-full loot arena.
Yes,
and
this is completely safe.
Yeah, this is safe. So it looks like he's dying and he's naked, but he's actually not equipping new stuff. You just respawn. It looks like that. The other thing we have from chat is a question. Is there a good way for new players to find other people to play with?
Yeah, my number one suggestion is always to find a guild. There are some things in game like the party finder that you can use, but in my opinion, the best is just to find a guild of like-minded people. You can go on the forums, I think, has a great looking for guild section or guild advertisement section, as well as some discords like the Albion Online Discord.
The Albion Online Discord is pretty good for that. I would say that the Albion Online Discord might be a little bit more interactive for that than the forums, as you get a lot of people who are on there actively recruiting and will answer your questions for you. It's also a good place to find people who just play the same content as you, and even if you're not getting the players right through that Discord to play with, it's a very good resource for getting you pointed in the direction of the right Discord that you need, whether it's the Hellgate 24/7 Discord or the Faction Warfare Discord. All of these Discords you can get links to right on the official Albion Online Discord.
Yeah, the official Discord is a really great resource, to be honest, just for finding people, answering questions, finding other resources like the Hellgate Discord is a big one if you want to get into Hellgates.
And yeah, it can be very hard to find the right guild for you, iPrize fighters. It always does feel like you're struggling to find the right one. But the best thing to do is to go to the places where people who want people in their guild would go to get you. So you go to the Discords, you go to the forums, you go to the Reddits, and you make yourself known as somebody who wants to work towards success. And somebody will pick you up, because the most important thing to get as a guild in Albion Online, it's not resources, it's not territories, it's not silver, it's good players. So if you're a good player, somebody's going to want to have you in their guild.
Yeah, finding, and not even just good players, but players with good attitudes, I'd say, that's what I always look for in a guild, is people that aren't too sweaty, people that don't get all rage at you if you're a new healer and you keep dying in arena.
Well, I'll tell you, even I get a little sweaty when it comes to healers dying in arena, don't I, Bogul? Plate heals.
Well, might just have to avoid you in my arena runs then.
There's one other question that I saw is in reference to some of the builds people try and look up, right? Because there's always the question of, well, what's the best build? I want to do this X, Y, and Z. What's the best thing that's out there? And then there is the possibility of looking at solo builds page on the official website, because there's like loadouts and there's preset builds you can make. And the problem is that some of these seem outdated. Is there a way to sort of filter what the current meta builds look like? Or how to find the current meta builds? Is that an easy task?
My favorite way is always through content creators. So if you like doing crystals, for example, find a streamer or a YouTuber that makes crystal content. And if you're in the stream, just ask them like, hey, I want to play melee DPS. What are some of the top builds right now? And they'll be happy to answer your questions. Because sometimes there's stuff that's a little bit outdated on the forums and stuff like that. So I always go to content creators for that sort of stuff. And
that's really good advice. And because there's a really vibrant Twitch streaming community here, we have somebody actually in chat asking how they, as a new streamer, can get more visibility. Well, the Albion Content Creators Program has recently gone live, and we're seeing a push from SBI to help the streamers get more promotion. And the thing that always brings more to the smaller streamers is when more streamers are streaming, to be quite honest, because that brings more viewers in, and the more viewers that are available, the more that will go to the smaller streamers when their streamer of choice isn't streaming. If you're a really small streamer, it just takes dedication and repetition and being on at the same time all the time to build a small community. Once you have a small community, largely word of mouth and performing well, it goes a long way. I would also suggest diversify. Don't just stream, but also create YouTube videos and hit up Twitter, to be honest. Create a community and use that to broaden your own streaming community.
Twitter.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, sure. Sorry. I know there's a bunch of people who like the CEO of Albion is on Twitter, and like Albion has an official Twitter and stuff. But like in terms of talking about Albion on Twitter, it's more like business kind of stuff, like promo. But I don't know. I guess that's what you do when you try to build a community, anyways, right?
The more the better.
Well, with the Twitch isn't to just go, hey, I'm talking about Albion, but there's a group of people like of other streamers and stuff, and people who pay attention to what's going on in Albion that will share you with their community when you do something they like, and that introduces you to a new community who might start watching you. Rusty Albion makes a really good point there. When you start streaming, it's very, very hard to get discovered. Albion is a little bit easier because we do generally have less streamers. So if you go and you look at what's streaming on Albion, you can generally see, without scrolling too far, everybody who's doing it. And that in and of itself is an element of discoverability, in that you can be seen doing it. But YouTube's better. YouTube does allow you to be seen a bit easier, and your stuff is there all the time. So even if you're not online when somebody's looking, they can find you because you left something that has staying power.
Yeah, and also just if you like a certain type of content and you want to make content for that, like hook up with some of the other content creators that make that sort of content, right? Like if you want to do let's say some open world PvP, you can find another maybe a little bit larger content creator that does some open world PvP and shoot the message, say, hey, you want to make a video together, do a stream together where we do some PvP, and maybe share some viewers there.
Absolutely. And Denny, Chino, I absolutely 100% agree with you. If you are a streamer on Albion that uses Facecam, people will watch you. There are enough viewers who are interested in Albion content that if you can make yourself stand out in any way, shape, or form on Twitch, people will watch you. And Facecam is the easiest thing that you can do. Not everybody wants to do it, but it does make the stream feel a lot more personal. But in order to keep them, you have to be an entertainer. You have to either be very good at the game or very entertaining to watch. And that's the reality of being an entertainer. When you're a streamer, first thing you really are is an entertainer, and that's what you have to be good at. That's what you need to be good at to grow your stream. I feel like we're giving, stream advice today. That's what this has turned into.
It's another topic. Yeah. Why don't we move on then with some PvP? So that was the arenas, which are fun for sort of 5v5, 10v10 sort of content, a little bit of group content. We can also get into, if you want to go for like the real big Zerg content, ZVZs, you can go into faction warfare in the yellow and blue zones. So if you go, any town has a faction master you can find on the map. They'll have like a little flag of the color. So in Bridgewatch is this lady over here. And if you are, I believe you need Expert's Adventure before you can faction flag, but you can faction flag up, which will essentially make you attackable by other faction flag players. Don't worry, you still won't lose your stuff unless you're in the red zone. And it'll actually give you better rewards and stuff as well. So we're going to go out and we're going to see if we can find where the faction war is currently happening so we can go and get involved with that.
Sounds good. Let's get involved in a little bit of a faction warfare.
Yeah. So the way you find faction warfare is you open up your map, and if you open up your map, there's a little tab at the top of it that will give you different options for overlays for the map. And so one of them is called faction warfare, where you can see which zones are owned by your faction, which are by enemy. And if you look for like the lines between your faction and the enemy faction, then it's pretty easy to find where the wars are currently going on. Usually they're either to the left or the right of your town at some
Yeah, they're
point.
usually right around there. You don't have to go that far generally. Faction warfare is pretty alive right now.
Yes, yeah, that last or second last huge content update, as you said before, was I forget what it was called, but massive faction changes that were really good for the game, to be honest. And a lot of people doing faction warfare. It's really great for rewards. You get your faction points up. You can spend them on all these sorts of amazing rewards. Get some super cool mounts that have nice abilities that you can use in faction. Become even stronger in faction. You can rank up in your faction, get even better rewards. Yeah, it's just great.
Yeah, I do enjoy it. Yeah, I do enjoy it because it's just so quick to get into.
Yeah,
it's just something that like you don't need to really know anybody to get into, and it's a great way to meet people. This is one of those areas where you're saying, how do I meet a guild? How do I make friends? How do I do these things? Faction warfare is a great place to do it because each city has discords dedicated to faction warfare. There's the faction warfare discord, which is great to get involved in, and then from that there are different rooms for each city, and different guilds generally will push different cities, and you'll see them coming in and trying to make pug groups out of the people who are willing to be in discord. And if you show up a number of days in a row and you show that you're willing to follow directions and be decent at the game, you can probably get some friends.
Yeah, for sure. It's a great way. If you show up in a banger, kill lots of Martlock players as a Bridgewatch player, you're definitely get some guilds that want you with their ranks. You can roll with them more often.
All right. BezGod420, please contact me on Discord at Shozen4236 with that information, and I'll take a look.
What a helpful guy.
Yeah, I try. He's a mobile streamer and YouTube content creator, and we just don't have enough of those. And I'd like to see more content created for our mobile viewers.
Yeah, for sure. I always get asked about mobile Albion and questions like that. I wish I could, answer them better, have more people to point them towards, because I don't have a phone that's capable of running the mobile app. It's very old.
There are a lot of people who are really interested in it. It's one of the questions I get the most. So I could say, how do you succeed as a small streamer in Albion Online? Become a mobile streamer. Because there's none. Like, you'd be unique out there. Good luck with that, by the way.
So you found some enemy players here. I don't see any bridge watchers. I'm a little scared.
Yeah, it's you need to have some teammates. You don't want to be the solo guy going against the enemies. And you went over and you found. So let's remind people of how you did this. You had to go to the faction leader and flag up at the faction leader inside of your town, and then you are marked as PvP for anybody else who is faction flagged for any other city, any of the other 6 cities. So any of the other 5 from the 6 cities. So you can get killed by anybody flagged up, not for Bridgewatch.
Knocked down.
Yes.
We are in the
knocked down. Yes, he's in the yellow zone. Okay.
Yeah.
You can get attacked. You can get attacked.
Don't scare the people. Don't scare them.
Yeah, you'll just respawn at your nearest faction outpost, which hopefully we can cover in a bit here. So this zone here that has 1 faction outpost that's owned by Bridgewatch and 2 that are owned by Martlock. So there's probably some people fighting over these outposts here, which are the main way that you sort of get points and initiate fights. I don't see any blobs on the map, which means there's not huge groups, but there's probably a small group running around somewhere.
Yeah, and this can be the scary part. While you're trying to find the group to meet up with, you're probably in your most vulnerable state, because any group can come along here and find you.
Yes, yeah. Don't want to be alone in large group content. One thing that's helpful too is that when you join a faction, you automatically get joined up with the faction chat in game, which you can access with /F. It's like this orange chat, which you can type in and see if you can find currently out doing faction, maybe join their party, things like that. And you know what? I'll fight you. Sure, let's go, boys. So I have 2 enemy faction players here, and we're gonna fight them, because why not? Probably eat my food then. Oh, let me eat my food, please.
BigLipsMcGee, what we have a question from Rusty Albion here. Sir Rusty. Wait, actually, Sir Rusty and Rusty Albion might be two different guys now. I think we have them both in chat today. I'm confused now. But he wants to know what your thought process is on finding new video topics. What do you do? How do you find the new topic for you? And I just looked over and you got killed.
Yeah, I lost the fight, unfortunately. We were close, but yeah. Right. So after
now we'll get to see what happens. Yeah. We'll get to see how you aren't really dead and that they didn't get to steal your stuff.
No. So new video topics. So really, I just enjoy playing Albion, right? So when I'm playing the game, I'm constantly doing some sort of activities, and whatever those activities are, you can usually make videos out of them. So that's pretty much what I do. I play with the game however I enjoy it and make videos on that. Or I also do, if there's like a new update or something or some activity that I'm curious about that I think other people might want some information on, then I will go and make a video on that, for example. So I'm making a video right now on the new open world mobs that just got changed. People want to know how good they are for farming, like might and fame and things like that. So I'm going to go out and do them for 10 hours and then make a video reporting on it, sort of thing. So yeah, usually information that I think people want or content that I enjoy.
Well, that sounds good. I think that that's some really good information for people. I have heard about many people saying they're great for fame. Not super great for silver collection, but the rewards, if you can get the right chests, are also very good overall. But the fame is top notch.
Yes, yeah, the fame is really good, and so is the might. The might points that you get, which are the new sort of like solo season points, are very good from killing those open world mobs.
Excellent, and that might and favor is very interesting to see how that's working now. Taking it from specifically from guild-centric activities where you had to be, a large group to really get those points, or an organized group, because you could do it with the Crystal League. But now the solo players who are just out and playing in the black zones can gather those points that are used towards the season ranking. So it's really cool to see, and I'm very happy to hear that players are having a good time with it and enjoying it.
Oh yeah. So here you can see I've linked up with another Bridgewatch player here, and we're going to assault this outpost. So these are the sort of main objectives for faction warfare. When we kill these guards, we get points, and then we can flip the outpost if we kill this big boss in the center. With 2 people, it's going to be very hard, but I'll give it my best shot.
I'm just giving out some prizes here. We had 2 more winners in the raffle. Congrats.
Ooh, that's rough. That's rough. Even with a healer. Good luck. Almost. No, you pulled the whole thing. No.
Oh, no. No, that's not the way to PvE.
I believe.
You got this. You got this. You got this. Get Rixie.
Oh, we got another Bridgewatch player in here.
Yeah, you got it now. 3v1.
Nice.
Nice. Nice. Nice work, lads. I like it. Okay.
Yeah, good communication with your teammates is always important in group PvP.
It's very important to let them know that you appreciate what they've done for you when they keep you alive. That way, maybe they'll keep you alive the next time.
Yeah. So you can see now we have enough people. We can start taking down this big boss man. And flipping this outpost.
And getting some quick points. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
this is why I like sort of faction. Open world, you never know what's going to happen. Who's going to come along. So just tons of different sort of fun situations you can get yourself into.
And you, of course, can turn in these these points that you get for doing these bosses here, or even defeating enemy players for at the faction guy where you enlisted. You can turn these into sellable items that you can sell on the market for silver.
All right. Well, I'm looking at the time, guys, and we're going to have to start wrapping it up because we do have some place to be in 11 minutes. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we head out of here? Or anything you'd like to remind people of? Any last minute important tips?
Last minute important tips. Have fun. You know, there's a lot of tryhard, sweaty people out here that will tell you you're doing it wrong. If you're having fun, you're not doing it wrong. That's my number one lesson for Albion PvP. I mean, unless you're directly ruining someone else's day by having fun. But, you know, most people aren't like that.
And I think you need to plug your YouTube channel. I don't think you ruin people's fun too much, do you?
Yes, you can also find me on YouTube at BigLipsMcGee, because, you know, that's where I actually make content.
Really good content, consistent, regular content. And like you said, the next one is on the open world content and the evolving mobs out there in the open world. And I think that's really important for a lot of people. That's really timely content.
Yeah, I'm hoping people will enjoy the information, because I certainly was interested to see how much they were worth getting.
Can you give us a sneak peek? Any secrets that you can share?
Well,
or do people have to watch that video?
Well, you will have to watch the video, but I did a video on solo and group dungeons, and they were some of the best fame in the game, and these open world mobs have officially taken their spot.
Oh,
or almost. I don't know. I have to crunch the numbers, but
it's close, is what you're saying.
Yeah, they're both very good.
And just one hit off. If you just had one more hit of life. Hey, at least you don't get killed by this guy.
Exactly.
All right. So on that note, thank you very much, BigLipsMcGee, for joining us today for this overview of early PvP in the world of Albion Online. I look forward to doing this with you again. Maybe we'll figure out another topic, maybe even talk about PvE in the open world. And I think this is it's a great thing to do, to bring in streamers and do these new player streams. Thank you very much for being a part of it.
Yeah, it's fun. Thanks for having me.
All right. And on that note, I think we're going to head out and get ready for this meeting that we have. We have the... Oh, Bogul has already ended the stream.
Yeah, but they can still hear you. I was like, yeah.
We're still here?
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, we're going to head out now. Thank you guys for watching. We will be back again tomorrow at 18 UTC with another War Report, followed by the AO Daily Show, as we will bring you the news and updates on the community and all the events of Albion Online at 19 UTC. So thank you guys for watching. See you real soon.